Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm your host Shorty. Today we're going to be talking real quick about the last position of a pilot car, which is the blocker. Mainly used in super loads, 20, 25, 30 feet wide, 20 foot tall, where more pilots are needed on the load. Blocker, as you know, so far we've covered a chase pilot behind the load, the lead pilot, which is in front of the load, a high pole, which is in front of the lead or further out than the lead runs, and a blocker, which is running usually any more than a mile to a mile and a half in front of the lead pilot. Now, as a blocker, it is your job to call back to the lead to make sure that he hears you, and then he verifies everything with the driver. So and you watch for everything. You watch for overhangs, vehicles on the shoulder, what's coming at you. Your main job as a blocker, and it's usually used on 2-lane roads or small interstates or freeways, where you have to block traffic coming at you over a bridge or an overpass. And you're there, you sit there, stop traffic far enough ahead of the bridge that the load can be on top. Once it gets on top, your lead driver is in front and he takes your place, and you go on down to the next maneuver. And if need be, you'll just move in front of the lead, and then when the truck gets there, you can go. You've run into this a lot in, or I do anyway, in Washington State, Eastern Oregon, and Northern California. There's a lot of smaller highways over there, 2-lane that we run on, and you're blocking the whole, you're working all day long. And but they're few and far between. Like I said, they're for what's called super loads, and California moves a lot of their super loads at night, from 10 o'clock at night until 5 or 6 in the morning, and you have to be off the road then. So most people don't even see the super loads in California. They run at nighttime. That's one nice thing about California. They would just as soon see the overloads or the oversized loads run at night after 8 o'clock, after the traffic's gone home. And it keeps the freeways clearer and more long-lasting. But that doesn't work with loading and unloading and DOT regulations and things like that. But it is nice to know that you can run at night in California. You have to put lights on the 4 corners of the load that are yellow up front and red in the back, and that you have to have your lights on. So but that's all really a blocker is for. They're out in front of the lead, and you talk to the lead driver or the high pole, and then you let him know what's coming up. Watch for cars on the shoulder, pedestrians, bicycles, overhangs, low wires, vehicles coming at you, and you stop traffic when an overpass is a little narrow. It doesn't have to be real skinny. In a 2-foot shoulder, block the whole bridge. Okay, if it's a 2-lane road, just go ahead and block it. Don't even try. It's better to do it that way, and it doesn't take, that's part of your job. That's really all there is to being a blocker. It's the easiest position there is. That's its only duties, is just to watch for your overhangs, so the pilot or the lead pilot knows what's coming up. Watch for shoulder traffic, cars coming off on the from a side road. Watch for them. Let the driver know, say, hey, there's one coming out on the right. So Really, that's about all there is to it. The blocker is one of the easiest jobs, but you do work all day long. That's the nice thing about it. You're constantly moving, and you're staying just far enough ahead that they can hear you on the CB, especially if you're in a lot of curvy, cornery areas. And a lot of times in, like here in Oregon, when I'm running super loads, we actually go ahead 5 miles down the road, and we stop traffic completely. Let the truck come through the narrows, and then go on to the next section. We shut down another 5. We shut down another 5. Highway 140 from Klamath Falls into Medford. We do that there very often, even on just standard oversize, because it's a little narrow up there on top, especially over Lake of the Woods. But you do have to get to know these things, and you get to know your area. Super loads are kind of a nice training area because you have help with you to let you know what's going on. And make sure you let your lead driver know that, hey, this is my first time being a blocker. What do you want to know? And he'll tell you. And a lot of times then they might put you back as a chase and move the chase up front. But usually they'll let you push it as a blocker because there's whatever you find can be fixed by the time the load gets there. So, or whatever you might forget. So, but that's about it for a blocker. So we've covered all 4 positions now. We've covered the chase, we've covered a lead, the high pole, and a blocker. That's your 4 positions in line. This is an incredible business to be into. The guys you meet out on the road, the drivers, the other pilots, they are some of the best guys I've ever met. I really have. I mean, and I drove truck for 38 years. Some of the other drivers in running regular truck, running just straight 48, they get a little bit too involved and busy. You know, you don't get to be friends, or you don't get to know the drivers any. You just drive. That's it. In this business, you get to know the people you're working with because you're talking to them all day long. And it gets boring, and you start talking and swapping stories, and I did this, I've done that. And some drivers will sit there and they'll sit and talk your frippin' ear off. Other drivers, you'll say hello in the morning and good night at night. That's it. They don't say a word all day long. But anyway, that's about it for this one. We'll next get into some more required and suggested equipment. Watch for episode 2, or for the next episode, 4A, and we'll go into more equipment. And I think now I've been asked a few times in messaging to go over some of the business end of owning a business in the pilot car. So starting our next episode is mainly just going to be talking about how to run the business, paperwork you need a very few items really to get going that way. You do need to file for your permits if you're going to run other states, and get your certificate. So anyway, stay tuned for the next one, and we'll get right into it. So thank you. Bye-bye.